Hey guys, I'm Vanessa, 34, female. Growing up, I always appreciated and admired my mom, Vicky. She was a single mother who had to work two jobs just to make ends meet and support me and my older brother, Victor. It wasn't easy for her, but she managed to overcome all the odds that were stacked against her. My mother was a hard worker and a strong, resilient woman. She didn't let the difficulties of life hold her back. I saw how much she was struggling and would try to help out wherever I could, even from a young age. I started doing odd jobs as early as 12, trying to lighten her load. She always appreciated my help, even though I was bringing in peanuts compared to what she was bringing home. And that made me feel like I was doing something important. Victor, on the other hand, seemed to be resentful towards our mother. He never appreciated all that she did for us, always blaming her for our less than lavish lifestyle. This would lead to countless arguments between Victor and me. I'd tell him he was being ugly and rude, but he just couldn't seem to see the sacrifices our mom was making for our sake. But my mother would always tell me not to worry about Victor. She would say that she was so grateful to have me around to help her out. It was her way of acknowledging the love and support I provided, even as a young girl. Fast forward to when Victor turned 18. He left the house, eager to escape the life we had with my mother. Tragically, this departure would have consequences that changed our world forever. You see, my mother had a terrible workplace accident due to hazardous work environment. This accident left her paralyzed, unable to work or care for herself. We lost our house, as she could no longer afford it, and I had to live with her cousin for some time. Victor, in his pursuit of being rich and hating the lifestyle that my mom provided us, managed to secure a decent place for himself. He had a roof over his head and had enough space to house our mother, but the question that lingered was whether he would be willing to take care of her. As my brother Victor begrudgingly accepted the responsibility of taking care of our paralyzed mother, it was clear that he wasn't happy about it. He never openly admitted his resentment, but it hung in the air, casting a shadow over our family dynamics. Victor knew that he would look like a complete a-hole if he refused to take care of our ailing mother, so he did what he had to do to save face. Albeit with an air of unwillingness that never went unnoticed. It was exhausting dealing with his groaning. Time passed and I turned 18. I wasn't as fortunate as Victor, who had managed to climb pretty high in his career, securing a stable financial position for himself. He could even afford to hire a nanny who would look after our mother. He'd also installed various paraplegic-friendly devices in the house to make her life easier. I was excited to celebrate my 18th birthday, but on that very day, Victor had a different plan for me. He told me that it was now my turn to take care of our mother. Can you imagine? It wasn't a gentle or kind request. Instead, it felt like an order. This led to a nasty argument between us, and it was long time coming because I was sick of his attitude. This fight had been brewing since we were kids. I refused to accept my brother's orders, and I questioned his sense of responsibility and compassion. The argument between Victor and me escalated quickly. I couldn't fathom how he could so easily dismiss his mother like she didn't do everything for him, given his financial stability and the fact that he had already modified his house for her special needs. My emotions got the best of me, and I called him evil and selfish. You know, I'm not swimming in money like you. You know that it makes sense for Mom to continue to stay with you, Victor. You can afford it, and your house is already set up for her. What the hell is your problem? You're the one who's acting evil and selfish here, Vanessa. You don't want to take her in. Look who's being a bad child now. I was beyond frustrated, and I knew that there was no getting through to that thick skull of his. Listen here, you douchebag. The moment I make enough money, I swear on my life I'll take Mom in. You know I love her, and you know I can't ever forget the crap she's been through. I can't believe you're treating her like this when you have the means to help her. Oh, cut the crap, Vanessa. You're so dramatic. It's your turn to take care of her, and that's that. She did so much for us, Victor. You should be more grateful. But Victor was unyielding, brushing off what I was saying. Well, she could have worked harder just like I did. Look at me. I've got money now. You should do the same. You're a pig, and you're lazy just like your mother. I can't believe someone so kind gave birth to a monster like you. Yeah, whatever. Look, I guess you're kind of right about having the facilities to take care of Mom, so yeah, it looks like I will continue to take care of her for a while. But you better believe the second you're on your feet, you'll take her in with you. Got it? Over the years, my relationship with my brother, Victor, deteriorated further, and I found myself unable to share the awful and nasty things he said about our mother with her. I kept this painful secret to myself because I couldn't bear to break her heart with the truth. Whenever I visited my mom in Victor's home, I carried the weight of guilt, knowing what Victor truly felt about his mother. It was heartbreaking to witness the disconnect between them, especially since Vicky tried so hard to love Victor even when he treated her so poorly. Vicky and I, on the other hand, were growing closer than ever. We bonded over everything, and she was so proud of the woman I was becoming. I became her confidant, the one she could lean on when Victor distanced himself. She'd complain to me about the lack of communication from her son, and I could only console her, assuring her that everything would eventually be all right. Vanessa, I just don't understand what's going on with Victor. I don't know what I did to make him hate me. You did nothing wrong, Mom. It's him. He's always been the problem. But I can't help but blame myself. He's been treating our relationship like some exhausting task, and this was before the accident. He's so distant, and he barely talks to me. He just leaves everything to Maria, the nanny. I've tried everything to reach out to him, but it's like he doesn't care. Mom, it's not your fault. You've done everything a loving mother could do. Some people are just the way that they are, and that there isn't much you can do to change them. I know it's hard to accept, but it's his choice to be this way. But he's my son, and I love him so much. I just want our family to be close and happy. I know, Mom, I want that too, but sometimes we can't change people no matter how much we love them. We can only control our own actions and how we treat others. I'm so grateful for you, Vanessa. You've been my rock through all of this. I don't know what I'd do without you. Mom, I love you more than words can express. You mean the world to me, and I'll always be here for you no matter what. Several years went by, and I was turning 32 years old, and by this point, I was happily married, and we had just moved into our big, beautiful home. I was so proud of everything I had accomplished to get me to that point. We were having a little housewarming party, and of course Victor and my mom were invited. When they arrived, it seemed like everything was going to go well. That was until the party was winding down and my idiot brother had the bright idea to make an announcement to everyone. Attention, attention everyone. Yes, thank you. Today is a very special day. My sister is making quite the name for herself, and I couldn't be more proud. She's such a smart, talented young lady, and I wish her and her husband nothing but the best with their future endeavors. May this house be filled with children, happiness, and memories. But I will say, I have an announcement to make. As you all know, I've been taking care of Vicky since I was 18, and it's been great. But I now pass on the mantle to my baby sister, just like how we talked about all those years ago. It seems like you're now ready to take on this responsibility, so hear, hear, everybody. Congrats once again, Vanessa. I was left in shock by Victor's abrupt announcement, and I wasn't the only one. Everyone was shifting uncomfortably in their seats, and my mom had to roll away and excuse herself to most likely cry in the bathroom. I obviously didn't forget our agreement. While I had always been willing to take on this role, I couldn't believe how thoughtless he had been in his approach. It felt intentional, actually, embarrassing Mom like that. There was no excuse for his poor behavior, and I was disgusted. I tried my best to do some damage control, telling our guests that they needn't worry about anything and that the party should resume as normal. I then went to check on my mother, and sure enough, she was sobbing in the bathroom, which broke my heart. I hugged her and started apologizing, telling her I was sorry for keeping this a secret from her and promising to murder Victor in his sleep. She also echoed the same sentiments I had about Victor's desire to embarrass us in front of everyone. Something was seriously wrong with that boy. He could have spoken to me privately, explained his reasons, and discussed the transition with me. Instead, he chose to make a spectacle of it in front of our mother. I jokingly asked her if she had dropped him on his head when he was a baby, and she said that she must have because there was no other explanation for this. We laughed for a bit, and after she was feeling better, we made our way back to resume the festivities. Then the guests started to leave, and this fake smile that I had plastered on my face was falling apart and was being replaced by the anger I had. My anger flared once the last guest left, and I was ready to let all hell loose on Victor because I couldn't contain my frustration. I shouted at Victor, calling him out for his insensitivity and selfishness. It was painfully clear that Victor hadn't changed at all, and his priorities were still driven by his own interests rather than our mother's well-being. How pathetic. Victor, how could you just spring this on Mom like that in front of everyone? You could have talked to me privately, but instead you had to make her feel like she was a burden. She's your mother and she doesn't deserve this kind of treatment. What is wrong with you? Vanessa, I've been taking care of her for years, and it's time for you to step up and do your part. I have my own life to live, and I can't be responsible for her all the time. I never said I wouldn't take care of her. I love Mom, and I'm more than willing to have her live with us. But you could have handled this with more sensitivity. She's been through so much already, and she doesn't deserve to be treated like this. Oh, here we go again with the dramatics. You sound like you're 18 again. Grow up. Victor, baby, I don't appreciate how you've been treating me. I understand that you didn't ask for any of this. You're right, I didn't. And I appreciate you taking care of me for all these years, but what you did was just classless and rude. You didn't have to embarrass us like that, and especially not during such a celebration. Honestly, get it together. You're a mess. Oh, I'm a mess. Okay then, let me get out of your hair. You know what? I'm glad that I'm finally getting rid of you. Do you know what I could have done with all the money I've spent on you? You're sick. You know that? Maybe, but I don't care anymore. I don't care if I'm the villain in your story, okay? I've done my part. Besides, it's not like she's going to have a huge inheritance anyway. If I were to guess, it's 20 grand, right, Mom? I noticed my mom's eyes widen for a moment, and she hesitated before responding. Yep, only $20,000. I found it very suspicious, but I didn't react. You see, taking care of her is too much work for only $20,000. I deserve more. But obviously, I'm not going to get that, so yeah, good luck taking care of her. I'll send you her nanny's number. Get the hell out of my house and don't come back, you hear me? You don't have to tell me twice. I'm out of here. After Victor left, I was left alone with Vicky. It was clear that she was thrilled to be under my care and protection. I held her in my arms, vowing that she would never have to suffer again. I wanted to give her the love and security she had always deserved. 1 year had passed and we hadn't heard a word from Victor. It seemed like he was off living the high life, going on exotic trips and drinking fancy cocktails while we were working on building a stable and happy life together. I was still seething with anger at my brother for his selfish behavior, but Mom had a more positive outlook. One day she had a glimmer in her eye, hinting that she had a secret to share. My curiosity piqued. I prodded her until she couldn't keep it in any longer. She revealed something astonishing. She was secretly rich. My mom explained that after her unfortunate accident, she had taken her former employer to court. seeking justice for the unsafe work environment that had caused her harm. It was a legal battle that I remembered well, and she had tried to sue them, but the case hadn't gone her way. Yes, well, if you remember, after I lost the case, there were some stories floating around about it. Yeah, it was all over Facebook, I remember. Right. Well, there's something I need to tell you, something I've kept hidden for a while now. It all began about a year ago when I received a phone call out of the blue. The person on the other end said that they knew about my lawsuit against my former employer, even though I had lost that case many years ago. They told me how sad it was to see someone like me, a single mother struggling to make ends meet, losing to the big man. Really, Mom? Who was this person, and why were they contacting you after all these years? Well, Vanessa, he's a billionaire. And just like me, he's paralyzed due to an accident he had a couple of years ago. Ever since then, he said he's been on a mission trying to help people like him, since he obviously has the means to do so. A billionaire? And he wants to help you? Is he Bruce Wayne? Apparently so. He said he had a deep sympathy for people like us, and he couldn't bear to see my story in the media. The articles mentioned how I was working in dangerous jobs just to provide for you and Victor. Wow, Mom, that is so crazy. I mean, it's not every day a billionaire approaches you. So what did he want? After making sure it wasn't a scam, I met up with him with the help of Maria, and he expressed his desire to help me out. He said he'd give me $20 million to make my life better, to make sure we never have to struggle again. I had to pick up my jaw from the floor. For a moment, things felt a bit dizzy. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. 20 million? Mom, that's incredible. It's more money than we've ever dreamed of having. Please tell me you're not joking. Sometimes I have to pinch myself because I still can't believe it. And the best part is that I finally received the money after a year of waiting, dealing with some technical issues on his end. But that's why I'm telling you all of this now, because the money has finally come into my possession. And that's when I realized something. Wait a minute. Is this why you acted strange last year when Victor said that your inheritance money was only going to be $20,000? Yep. Oh my God, I knew something was up. And I'm not sorry I lied to him either. I just couldn't bear the thought of my son being a selfish gold digger, only caring about himself. Honestly, Mom, he deserves it. He's treated you terribly and has basically abandoned us. I'm glad you understand, dear. I didn't want anyone to know about the money until I was sure it would be in our hands, and now that it is, I'm having second thoughts about telling him altogether. I mean, he seems to be doing just fine without it, so I don't think you should tell him. You're right. It'll be our little secret. Well, we'll make the best of this, Mom. We're going to have a wonderful life ahead of us, and Victor won't get a cent of this money. As the months passed, my mom and I had big plans to enjoy the newfound money. We talked about exotic vacations, fancy restaurants, and getting the best medical care we could afford. We envisioned creating wonderful memories together. Sadly, my mom's health continued to deteriorate. Her condition often forced us to cancel our plans. Thanks to the resources we had, we consulted numerous medical experts who all unfortunately delivered the same grim prognosis. Vicky's condition was worsening, and the future looked bleak. Another year went by, and tragically, we lost my mom. She passed away peacefully in her sleep, and I was right there beside her. The night before, I had chosen to sleep next to her because I had sensed something was wrong. I guess it's true what they say, when you know, you know. I was devastated. Grief overwhelmed me, making it hard to eat or sleep. I missed my mom terribly. She had always been my pillar of strength, and her absence left a void that felt impossible to fill. I didn't know how I was going to do it without her. Heck, to this day, I don't know how I'm getting by without her. But this next part always makes me smile on those particularly hard days, and I know she's laughing in heaven because what happened next was the greatest form of poetic justice to occur. After my mom's passing, I was determined to give her a grand send-off. I planned a beautiful funeral to honor her memory and ensure her final farewell was something unforgettable. To my surprise, Victor, my estranged brother, decided to attend the funeral. I couldn't believe he was there, given our history, and given the fact that we hadn't spoken ever since I kicked him out of my house 2 years ago. In a rather shocking twist, Victor announced that he was at the funeral because he wanted his share of the inheritance. The lawyer and I exchanged puzzled glances since Victor wasn't even mentioned in the will. A lawyer took Victor and I aside to discuss the matter privately. After a brief discussion, the lawyer explained to Victor that our mother had altered her will years ago, making me the sole beneficiary of her assets. Victor's initial reaction was to laugh it off and claim our mother didn't know anything of value. I was quick to question him about his inheritance demands, if that was the case, and he shot me the evilest evil eye he could muster. Reluctantly, he admitted that he wasn't as well off as he once appeared to be. It seemed the prodigal son had fallen on hard times and was seeking to return. However, unlike the prodigal son, we weren't ready to welcome him home with gifts, rather just a reality check hit him hard. The lawyer explained that the inheritance was $20 million, bequeathed solely to me. Victor grabbed the will to see for himself, and the revelation left him utterly shocked. No one could have anticipated his next move because that's when this grown man fainted. He hit the floor with a loud thud, and we were forced to resuscitate him when he came to. And he said, "I had the weirdest dream. Mom gave you $20 million and left me with nothing." Hate to break it to you, buddy, but that wasn't a dream. When Victor realized this, he looked woozy all over again, and we decided to take him to the hospital. The entire ride there, he was moaning and groaning about how it wasn't fair and that he deserved that money. I couldn't help but laugh at his predicament because karma was a real B-word to him. It was quite the scene, and I couldn't help but think that my mom was up there in heaven sharing a good laugh with me.